Welcome, everyone in the United States, Canada, and around the world to another episode of It's a Wrap with Rap, the podcast of overcomers and useful information to better our daily life and mental well-being. I am Ron Rappaport, your host. I would like to thank all our listeners, our viewers, and our sponsors and supporters for making the podcast such a success. Besides being heard on all major podcast platforms and YouTube, the podcast may also be accessed on our website, itsawrapwithrap.com, where you can find all the episodes, previews of future episodes, and unique products and services offered by our sponsors, as well as the podcast Book Nook, showcasing many of the books our guests have authored that may be purchased on Amazon. My guest today is Jen Mitchell Love. Now, Jen is an attorney, mediator, and intuitive health and wellness life coach with a mission to transform the way people experience divorce. With 19 years of legal experience, she founded Solace Divorce Mediation in 2014, creating a high-vibrational, love-centered approach to divorce that shifts the process from destruction to empowerment, growth, and healing. Now, beyond divorce mediation, Jen's work focuses on helping individuals achieve balance in their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual selves. She assists clients in tuning into their inner guidance and truth, navigating life transitions, and transcending limiting beliefs. Jen offers coaching, workshops, retreats, and created Divorce with Love Masterclass on topics such as healing from grief and loss, self-discovery, and creating an authentic life. Jen is also passionate about teaching therapists and mediators how to energetically protect themselves while working with clients. She provides education on 5D consciousness, energy healing, and mindfulness to shift mediation and healing practices into a higher vibrational space. Jen has authored her book, Shine, Soul, Shine, to help individuals move from the darkness of divorce into the light, providing a loving, high vibrational roadmap for transformation. Welcome, Jen, to the podcast.
Oh, Ron, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm
Well,
really
it is a
excited.
pleasure to have you, and this is an awesome topic we're discussing, and it affects so many people. I don't know what the divorce rate is now. I'm sure it's over, is it 50% or more?
That's what it was. Yeah, I don't know what it is currently. I feel that it probably is increasing. I think there's a lot of change happening in the human consciousness,
Yeah,
change in relationships, jobs, where they're living. There's lots of
yeah.
change everywhere.
Now, you graduated from law school in 2006
Yes.
and spent your first 9 years practicing family law litigation. Tell us about that time period and your thoughts on how you felt about what you were doing.
Oh, that's a great question. So, yeah, I graduated in 2006 and I went right into a law firm and I just started doing what attorneys are trained to do. We're told we're supposed to bill, 200 billable hours in a month and go to court and be the zealous advocate representing our client's best interest. And back then, I didn't really know much about energy. But I did know that it didn't make me feel good. I didn't enjoy it. It was very stressful, I found, and I didn't have a lot of control over anything in that space. And it took a long time. The average divorce that I would be working on would take over 2 years from start to finish. And I would see my clients in the beginning being one way, and then at the end being a very different way. Physically, they would usually gain weight. They'd be very stressed and oftentimes physical illness would present because of the stress. And it was just too overwhelming. And it was fine until I had my own children. And when I say fine, I mean, that's what we were programmed to do as attorneys. It's like you graduate and you work in a firm and you work really hard and you do all the things and you file the motions and you go to court and you argue. And then I had kids. I had 3 children in 39 months, all singlets, bam, bam, bam.
Wow.
And yes, and we didn't have a nanny or babysitter or daycare.
You
And so
were
when
it.
that,
You were the
yes,
caretaker and
I
you had to
was
work. I mean, that's a
And
lot.
I had my own firm. Yeah, at that point I had my own practice. And
Okay.
yeah, going to court, it was a little wild for the first two. But when the third came, I still remember I was in my dining room and I had this overall kind of epiphany of sorts. It was mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, where I was told that I can't do this anymore. I can't do this job representing one person in a divorce, and especially when kids are involved, because then I had children. Before
Right.
that I didn't have kids, so I had no
Right.
idea what the
Right.
bigger impact was, because you're trained to be the zealous advocate for your client and represent your client's best interest, and your client's best interest solely, as if they're an island of one. But these are families, and they're not only families when they're going through a divorce, they're always a family. And so when my youngest came, the message that came to me was there must be a better way to do this. There just has to be a better way. And so at the time I had, I think, around 40 cases that I was juggling in my workload, and I referred all of them out. I took the holistic health and wellness coaching course, and I thought that was going to be my new career. I thought, that this is what I'm going to do, because it was really important to me too when I had children. As you know, anyone I feel who has kids, they're our greatest teachers. And it was important for me to do work that I was proud of, and for
Yeah.
my kids to see me do something that was bettering other human life. And so, yeah, I took the life coaching course, and towards the end of it, all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think I can incorporate some of this into a family law mediation practice. Instead of litigation, switching to mediation, which I was certified to be a mediator, but my course load was probably like 98% litigation, 2% mediation. And so, and all of my attorney friends, they were all saying the same thing. They're like, you can't do that. Litigation is the bread and butter of a family law practice. And I was like, I don't think so. I think that's a false belief that everyone seems to be having. And I think I can. And
Let me,
so, yeah, that started everything in 2014.
let me ask you something. You mentioned just a few seconds ago, you said that the average case
Mm,
took 2 years to
yes.
litigate.
Yes.
Is that is that something that needs to take 2 years,
No.
or is that something that's dragged out purposely?
I don't think it's intentionally dragged out. I think, like, for example, now, at Solace, I offer two weekend 4-day retreats, and we go through everything that we need to go through. If it's a one-on-one, it takes about 3 to 4 months, to get from the first mediation session until the final prove up. I think the problem in the court system, there are many problems. I think it's
Yeah.
fundamentally broken. But one of the problems is scheduling is tricky, because you have, both attorneys and the judge. So
Yeah.
you have to make sure that everyone can be on the right schedule. The other problem with it is anytime a motion is filed, anytime a pleading is filed, the other side is going to have time to respond. And then the original filing side is going to have time to reply to the response. And
Right.
then before you go to a hearing or a trial, you're going to have a pre-trial conference. And in between, every 45 to 60 days, you're going to have what's called a status call, just to go in and let the judge know what's going on. I think the other really big problem that causes everything to take so long is that there's so many cases. The judges are over flooded with cases, and
Yeah.
there's only a certain amount of hours in a day, especially a work day. Like, this is a job for the judge, and the judge has to be sitting on the bench for a certain amount of that time. And so I
Yeah.
think it's just the reality of having so many cases. It's really difficult for the judges to make sure that the attorneys are being held accountable. You're getting this in at the time you're meant to. And I think the final issue of why it takes so long is because for marital property division, I always say there's three buckets to the marital settlement agreement. There's asset and debt division, support calculations, and then those extra expenses for kids. And the way the courtroom goes through the three buckets is one thing at a time, which the majority of states, for that document, for the financial agreements, the majority of states, the governing law is saying that it must be fair and equitable, which I just think is is a little goofy that in court they're going to do one thing at a time, because we could be up here, looking a bird's eye view and being very creative of how everything is kind of flowing to make it overall fair and equitable. But in
Yeah.
that system, when I was a litigation attorney, I would counsel my client and I would write down on a piece of paper after court, these are the things I need you to talk about with your spouse. Like, just go to coffee and talk about these things and let me know what your agreement is. And then we can just enter an agreed order and we can move this on. And 9 times out of 10, my client will come back and say, I did exactly what you asked me to do. I reached out to my spouse, and my spouse told me that their attorney told them that if I want to talk to her, say, right, if I want to talk to her, then I need to talk to my attorney, and my attorney is going to talk to her attorney.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's the other problem. It's like the two people who are the absolute best authorities to
Yeah.
figure out what's in the best interest of their kids, what's fair and equitable, they're being told to not talk to each other.
Right.
And then you have the attorneys who, it's like they're billing in 6-minute increments. Does anyone anywhere think that the attorney is like, oh, I want to resolve this? It's like, no, they don't want to resolve it, because if they resolve it, they're not getting their 6-minute billing in,
Right.
and they
Right.
have their own families. And I'm not saying they're jerks, because they're not. It's their job, and they're ethically obligated to be a zealous advocate, which means serve their client's best interest
Okay.
and their
So
client's best interest only. It's just goofy.
so it's the process and the structure that's making it take so long. But my other question is just for myself and my audience as well. You're saying that you can go the litigation route or you can go the mediation route. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, is that
Yes.
in all states?
In all states. And I do believe that 95% of cases can be handled outside of court. They don't need the court system, but people are so programmed
Yeah.
to believe, when
Yeah.
divorce happens, and they're freaked out, I think, by their friends and family, like, you need to get an attorney, you need to go to court, you need to fight. It's going to take you years. It's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Your kids are going to be screwed up and you're going to hate each other. And everyone's just like these programmed, like, okay, we're going to do this, and they all get the same result. And I really
Okay.
think 95% can be out. And the 5% in, I think those cases are the dangerous. Someone is in danger. There's physical, emotional, financial abuse happening. They need a judge to intervene. And I think if the 95% came out, the judges would actually be able to focus energies in the cases that really need it.
Does the lawyer who the people go to, the man and the woman, probably would not recommend mediation then, right? If they're litigators.
I would assume not, unless
Okay.
they're mediators as well.
Okay.
But
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of,
I mean,
yeah,
how do people know that mediation is a way to go? How do they know
I
that?
think, I mean, from this show for sure,
Yeah,
hopefully people will
right.
be educated on it. I think, there's a weird, when I started this now almost 11 years ago, I remember the consultations that I would have with people. I would basically be convincing them, like, this is a real way to get a divorce. Like, this is
Okay,
really,
okay,
it's a legal process. It's the same legal process in court as it is out of court. We have the same Supreme Court rules that, everyone everywhere has to do a financial disclosure. If you have minor children, take a co-parenting course. And we have the same governing law that applies inside of court as it does outside of court. It's just done differently. Inside of
okay.
court, we have, like we already talked about, the two attorneys advocating and arguing. And then truly, like the way I explain it to everyone is, then the people who are actually going through the divorce, who have children and the marital property that they worked so hard to accumulate in court, the same legal processes in mediation, they're giving their power away to a judge. And I think that's a program too. I think people think, ooh, the judge looks really important up there. Like, they're wearing a robe, they're elevated at the front of the courtroom. They must be.
Our podcast guest and author, Kelly Tuttle, neurology nurse practitioner, has written a book titled After the Crash: How to Keep Your Job, Stay in School, and Live Life After a Brain Injury. The book covers the important topic of brain injury. It is estimated that between 3.2 and 5.3 million people in the United States alone live with a disability caused by a traumatic brain injury, which is probably a low estimate because only those hospitalized are counted. 2.8 million people in the United States sustain a traumatic brain injury yearly. This book is for everyone to read as we are all at risk of sustaining a head injury from crashing our car, playing sports, having an object strike our heads, brawling, being exposed to a blast in the military, and many other numerous ways. We all need to arm ourselves with knowledge on this subject so we know what to do if this type of injury occurs in our lives and the lives of our loved ones. Knowledge is power, and this type of injury is nothing to ignore. It can be deadly. Kelly never imagined a routine drive would leave her grappling with a traumatic brain injury that would change every aspect of her life. Based on her own recovery experiences and evidence based insights, Kelly shares strategic steps that will help the patient keep working, learning, and living your life as your brain and body heal. With honesty and empathy, this book is an indispensable guide for anyone battling the emotional, physical, and cognitive struggles of traumatic brain injury, including memory fog, chronic fatigue, emotional outbursts, and loss of identity. Gain valuable recovery methods and learn the brain trauma recovery stages, the invisible effects of traumatic brain injury, how to identify often overlooked symptoms, how to choose a healthcare provider to deal with head injuries, how to communicate effectively with doctors, strategies to manage overstimulation, how to rebuild your sense of self through mindfulness, lifestyle changes, and the courage to embrace a different future, healing one step at a time. Blending relatable storytelling with neuroscience research after the crash is the perfect resource for anyone needing help from recovery from a traumatic brain injury. Whether you are a traumatic brain injury survivor, caregiver, or someone seeking answers, get actionable advice and support to live life fully again by reading this book. The book After the Crash: How to Keep Your Job, Stay in School, and Live Life After a Brain Injury is available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook formats from Amazon. Details will be listed in the podcast notes or by clicking the link provided in this announcement.
Really super duper smart to be sitting up there. He or she or they must know better than I know what's in the best interest of my children, even though that judge has never met the children. And they also are giving their power away for the judge to say what a fair and equitable way to divide their marital property is. And that's insane. The judge has never worked one day doing that. But I really do think it's been the human conscious kind of social programming that's been happening for generations of time. But I do believe that there's a shift happening now because now my consults are very different. People now, when they're reaching out to me, I'm not convincing them that mediation is a real thing.
Mhm.
It's more them sharing with me, we don't want the stress. We don't want to spend a lot of money. We don't want this to take a lot of time. We want to be in control of the outcome.
Okay, so it would be fair to say that from a time standpoint and a financial standpoint, mediation would be much easier and economical.
100%. And I think
100.
it's also, in addition to that, I think it's also very empowering.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are threatened by legal stuff. They're like, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. It's the law. I'm not an attorney. I'm
yeah.
not a paralegal. But it really is very easy to understand when it's explained to you, through a mediator
Okay,
who's neutral.
I could see a roadblock being where you really have two people who just can't communicate. And
Yeah, well,
they're gonna go the litigation route because they just don't want to, converse with each other. Would that be
yeah,
fair?
I mean, my perspective now and what I share with all my consults, is I truly believe that every soul's journey goes exactly the way that it's meant to for that soul's healing and growth.
Yeah,
And I think some souls must need that really, really difficult, disempowering, stressful,
yeah,
overwhelming experience because the soul needs to learn something. I have no idea what, or
yeah,
why, but
yeah,
I think, I feel everyone is on, their own journey of self
yeah.
and that it just flows the way that it's meant to flow.
Now, what prompted that shift to give you the impetus to change the process? I know you mentioned that you have children,
Hmm.
and I mean, what was it that gave you that calling, do you think?
It was my kids for sure
Yeah.
they shifted everything away from litigation. But then within Solace, the business, she's changed so much over the past decade. And in the beginning, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to help people. I wanted to give them tips and tools and resources that they could apply when they're going through one of the most difficult times in their life to help them feel better. So I remember my very first mediation in this new space, I gifted them essential oils, a bottle of essential
Oh
oils to
yeah,
each of
yeah.
them to spray, and it was lavender just to
Lavender's
calm them.
great. Yeah, I've
You
got
know,
a bottle right next to me, as a matter of fact.
yes. So
Yeah.
I mean, there and
I used it on my cancer journey.
yes.
Just smelling that stuff, your anxiety
Oh my
goes
gosh.
way down.
Totally. And
Yeah,
I remember gifting it to them in my
yeah,
office and being like, oh my gosh, like, did I really just do that? And now it's evolved, a decade later.
yeah.
Now, I mean, now I'm talking to my clients about soul contracts and life purpose and, living your authentic truth and seeking joy and love and releasing attachment and generational lineage healing. And it's just so different now. But that's how it started, was a bottle of essential oils.
That sounds great. Now, was it possible to change the process from within the system, or did you realize you had to go and work outside the system?
For the work that I wanted to do, I needed to be outside of the system. I mean, they still have to go in the system at the end. I have a separate legal team that drafts all the documents for
Yeah,
them, e-files for them, gets them scheduled for court. So they still do need to use the system just to get the judge's signature. But the task of even attempting to fix the family law litigation system, to me, it's just, I mean, there's not even a plant usually in a courtroom, and it's not colorful. The energy and the other thing is, the family law litigation system, the court system, is solely equipped to deal with the legal process of divorce, which is why there are no plants, which is why there's no colors, which is why there's no essential oils, which is why, there are no mindfulness tips that are shared with the parties,
right.
and that's the thing about divorce, is it's not just a legal process, it's also a very difficult emotional process. And in the litigation system, I couldn't see any way of incorporating the emotional part, tools to help with the emotional part, because
Yeah,
they're just there for court. Everyone's in a suit, with their briefcases and
yeah.
doing their arguing. No one's talking about feelings and healing
You don't get
and
the warm, fuzzy feeling in the courtroom,
no,
put it that way.
no,
Now
exactly.
you created the Solace Way process of mediation of divorce to resolution, incorporating spiritual and energy work, listening to our inner guidance and messages from guides,
Hmm.
angels, and ancestors, and shifting the process of destruction that it had been to one of mindfulness, respect, and personal transformation. Tell us how this, what you call fifth dimensional way of divorce, differs from traditional divorce, and how you guide people through it.
So the biggest difference is, and I love talking about this because this just started in December. I was given a message December 6th, and everything has shifted since then, 2024. So the best way to describe it is, what I've realized is, in the courtroom setting, because the best example is court versus, Solace. So in court, everything is externalized. It's, he did this, she said this, everything is trying to blame and win, and it's external, external, external. All of the motions that are filed are focused on the past. And so when people are in their present moment in court, they're really not in their present moment. They're in the past moment, reliving something that was very uncomfortable. Otherwise, it wouldn't be part of a pleading. Whereas this new approach to divorce is shifting in. So it's, I coach my clients and guide them to shift in and to recognize that before they were born, we enter into soul contracts with various people. And the contract of marriage is a very strong contract. It's a legal contract, of course, which is almost the irony, which brings people attracted to me because out of everything that's happening, the legal contract and dissolving the bonds of matrimony is the most minuscule, kind of easiest part of it. And I think the reason court is so crazy is because all of the emotions focusing externally are clouding the legal stuff, making the legal real complicated. But the legal is actually really easy. We have that Supreme Court, the governing law. That part is easy. The harder part is the soul contract between the two spouses. And what that soul contract is it means that your spouse is the only person in the entire world who can reflect to you the things that you need to see. And when I say you need to see, it's really the things you wanted to heal in this lifetime. So before we're born, the two spouses are talking and one of them is like, ooh, this is what I want to do in this lifetime. I want to heal X, Y, and Z. And the other one is like, oh my gosh, like that is a lot in one lifetime. Are you sure you want to do that? And the first one's like, no, absolutely. I'm done doing this over and over and over again. This lineage pattern and way of being, I'm going to go this time and I'm going to heal it. And then the spouse says, okay, I love you so much that I'm going to help you do that. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to play the part perfectly and I'm going to destroy you. You are going to be at the bottom of bottoms and you're going to be forced to confront these beliefs that you have and I'm going to be reflecting them to you and triggering you over and over and over and it's going to get harder and harder and harder until you finally do it. And so that's the new approach that I'm taking at Solace is recognizing that soul contract, being grateful for it, and coaching my clients individually to help them recognize what are the reflections. What is that person, when that person says this or does this that makes you really upset? What is it? What is that person doing? And then deeper than that, how is it making you feel? And then asking, have you felt that way in the relationship container before with this partner? Have you felt those same feelings? And then taking a step further, do you remember in your lifetime ever feeling that in other relationships? And then the final question, did you feel that as a child? And the final question, did you feel that as a child? 100% across the board, the answer is going to be yes, because that is what the spouse is reflecting to you. And so then you're thinking about, okay, when I was a child, when did I feel this way? And then it's an exercise of figuring out what belief did I have passed down to me from my mother, from my father, that was passed down to them from their parents and them from their parents. What belief did I take on from my generational lineage that is not my authentic truth and is not serving me? And I've had the same cycle over and over and over again throughout my life. And this could be about anything. It could be about money, it could be about love, because we all were born in different families. So we all have different beliefs about what love is. Is love hurtful? Is love where someone, isn't putting you first? And that's love. Abundance. I think that is a very prevalent, and I think
Yeah.
that's a really big one that's shifting right now. But really thinking about money, what are your beliefs about money? And then looking at your partner and what is that partner reflecting to you?
Okay. Now, many people view divorce as a battle. How can couples shift their mindset and approach it with love and respect instead? How do
Yes.
you instill that?
I think the big shift that needs to happen, Ron,
Yeah.
is for people to stop.
Jen Mitchell Love, a guest on the podcast, attorney and mediator for people divorcing with 19 years of legal experience, founder of Solace Divorce Mediation, a high vibrational, love centered approach to divorce that shifts the process from destruction to empowerment, growth, and healing, has authored her new book, Shine, Soul, Shine 30 Days of Self Discovery and Healing Through Divorce. The book was written to help people move from the darkness of divorce into the light of a roadmap for transformation. Divorce is often seen as the end of a chapter, but what if it is the beginning of something extraordinary? Jen invites you to see this life transition not as a loss, but as a powerful opportunity to rediscover your true self. In this transformative 30-day guide, Jen combines her expertise as a divorce lawyer, mediator, intuitive coach, and advocate for personal growth to help you move through the darkness and rediscover your inner light. With daily reflections, practical exercises, and heartfelt insights, this book offers the tool and inspiration you need to reclaim your sense of self and purpose, heal emotional wounds, and release limiting beliefs. Embrace your unique journey with gratitude and love. Step into a new chapter filled with clarity, confidence, and joy. Whether you are navigating the early stages of divorce or seeking a new foundation for your life, Shine, Soul Shine is your companion for turning pain into power and finding magic in the midst of change. Let this book guide you to a brighter, more authentic version of yourself, one step, one day, one moment at a time. The book, Shine, Soul Shine 30 Days of Self Discovery and Healing, is available in paperback from Amazon. Details about the book will be listed in the podcast notes or provided by clicking the link in this announcement.
Externalizing, not just in divorce either. This is just in life.
Okay.
How many people spend so much time watching the news and getting so angry about everything that's going, it's external, external, external.
Yeah.
I think the big shift in human consciousness that is naturally happening, from the third dimension to the fifth dimension is turning it around, and I think when people really sit in a space of not feeling like they need to blame someone, not feeling like there's a good, bad, right, or wrong, not feeling any of the feelings of shame or failure that is just prevalent in our human consciousness and associated strongly with divorce. And they can remove all of that and just recognize, what? I am on my own journey of self. I have one life to live. And this is just one part of it. And if we can shift to help people recognize what a soul contract is and to recognize how beautiful it is to go through the really difficult times, because a lot of times when people go through difficult times, they want to numb it. So they're gonna drink alcohol, or they're gonna take other drugs, or they're
Right.
gonna be reckless. They're gonna do things again external. I don't want to think about this. I don't want to deal with it. I'm gonna numb this. But if we can coach people and encourage people to be in control of their life and recognize you are the only one that is in control of your life, and everything that is happening for you, not to you, it's for you. And it is in the darkest times of our life that we are given the greatest opportunities to grow. And that is, we see that paralleled in nature, where the caterpillar is the best one for divorce. Like the caterpillar is a caterpillar, just like people before they get a divorce. They're in this relationship functioning a certain way. And then the caterpillar turns into a butterfly, just like people going through a divorce. When they're done with the divorce, they will be stronger. They will be more aligned with themselves. They'll know themselves so much better, who they are and what they want. But when they're in the divorce, just like the caterpillar in that cocoon, it's dark in there,
Yeah.
and the caterpillar's body or stomach acid eats its whole body. So it's goo. And that's what I tell my clients, you're goo right now. You're in the darkness of the cocoon and you're goo. But that's where the growth happens. The seed under the earth, it grows in the dark. The baby in the mother's womb, it grows in the dark. I mean, every growth, it's a parallel that I feel we're meant to recognize that is what difficult times are for. And they're not going to be here forever, but the only way out of them is to go through them, not to
Right.
avoid them, not to place blame, not to say, oh, this happened to me. It's like, no, it didn't happen to you. This is happening for you. And this is a major, major opportunity for you to learn more about yourself, for you to recognize what spaces and areas still need healing. And that's why in the solace journey, I coach them through breath work and guided meditations and all of these various, tools that they can use, self-care and self-love, so they can grow, that they can use this to grow. And I think the space, getting to that space of growth throughout the divorce process, when you're utilizing mediation, is the empowerment piece. And I think that's something that's completely absent in the court system. There's no it's disempowerment. You can't
Yeah.
speak. Your attorneys are talking for you. You can't make the decision. The judge is doing it for you. But when you're in a space of going through a very difficult time and you're in mediation and you recognize, okay, the two of us, this is our life. This is our family. When kids are involved, it's like, these are your
Right.
kids.
And we're going to get
How do
into
you want it
that.
to look like?
And I just want to say this is a podcast that's ranked rather high on the web for overcoming. And we have said this many, many times on our episodes. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me?
Mm,
Why is this happening for me? And if you use
100%.
that phrase to in a beneficial way, you'll understand you will go forward. You will
Yes.
get out of that darkness, out of that tunnel, and get to the light.
Yes.
And, and,
100%. Oh, I
and
love that.
yeah. Now you emphasize the well-being of children during divorce. What have you viewed through the years as the biggest mistakes parents make, and how can they ensure that their kids feel empowered rather than wounded by the process? Because I know so many children are wounded by divorce. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a big traumatic thing for children.
Yeah, it can be. I think it can be if it's done, in a way that isn't mindful and that isn't intentional. And I think the courtroom, again, to go back there,
Yeah.
that I think in that setting, a lot of times parents, at least when I litigated, my clients wouldn't start out ever, trying to bring the kids in, but eventually it would get to the point where something would happen and then they would use the kids,
Oh yeah.
as kind of as like a weapon. So I
Yeah.
think that's how, when you said what mistake, I think, I don't know, mistake, but that's a way that we can definitely harm, I think, children because and think of it from an energetic standpoint in the courtroom setting, the energy of the parents, they're very stressed. There's a lot of money that's being spent, there's a lot of time that's being spent. They have no control. They're very stressed, and their attorneys, like I shared earlier, most commonly are coaching them to not talk to one another. And so the kids can feel that, and I coach all my clients and share with them, in my world, in my belief system, our children choose us to be their parents. They choose both people to be their parents because the children are on their own journey of self, and they know that by being born into this family with these two people, that they're each going to give them the love and teach them the lessons that they're meant to learn for their highest and greatest good. And a lot of times people say, what about, when kids are abused, they're born into a family where they're abused. And it's like, well, I don't know, maybe that soul's journey, the life purpose of that soul is to help other children that are being abused by their parent, and they wouldn't be able to do that in the most powerful way without having gone through it themselves. So just as an example.
Yeah.
um, but I think the other thing I coach my clients on all the time is I feel divorce is a really, really powerful opportunity for parents to be vulnerable with their children. And I think back, I was born in the 70s, and I think back then it was like, parents are here, children are here. Like children should be seen and not heard. And it wasn't like intentionally mean, but I think there was like a different structure. I think now there's more recognition
Yeah.
that our children are actually our greatest teachers. We are their teachers and their guides and their parents, but they're also our greatest teachers. And I think sharing with our children, being open and vulnerable about what's going on and sharing with them, look, we've never done this before and we're doing the very best we can. And we want your input. This is what's happening. We're still a family. We love you more than anything. That is never going to change. These are the things that are staying the same. These are the things that are changing. And if we can talk with our children about divorce and normalize it and share, this is okay. We still love each other. We just love each other differently than we did before. And
Right.
my intention for all my clients is at the end of it, that they do open space to recognize that there's many, many forms of love and many types of relationships, and they can choose where they want to be, and they can include their children, and then their children are part of this, and it's not this scary thing for kids, because that's the final thing I want to share about children
Yeah.
is we are all energetic beings. We are all energetic beings living in an energetic universe. Albert Einstein, who everyone says, smartest person ever, he focused solely on that, right? But children, as we age, we become more programmed from just the human consciousness. And we're still energetic. We still can feel energy. Like if you go to a party late and you walk in and something had just happened and you missed it, you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Like something happened. But children are so in tune. They can feel everything. They can feel every single thing, but they don't understand it if their parents aren't being open and vulnerable with them. So that's where I feel children start, when people say children get messed up from divorce, right? I think it's because they're feeling the energy of what's going on, but what they're being told or not told is completely opposite or just doesn't align with what they're feeling. And then kids, of course, they're very self-centric, which they should be because they're children. And so
Yeah.
then they internalize it. Oh, I must have done something to make mom mad, because I'm feeling that she doesn't feel good, but she's saying it's fine. And that's the other thing, when parents want to
Yeah.
stay together until the kids get older and they're like, oh, it's better for the kids. It's like, it's actually, I don't feel that is better for the kids. I actually feel it's terrible for children because they can feel it. And now you're modeling to them as parents what love is and what relationship is. And the same with divorce. You can model
Yeah.
to your children that when you go through hard times, you don't have to fight. You don't have to destroy one another. There doesn't have to be a winner or loser. You can
Yeah.
talk through this. You can talk with one another, and you can figure it out together.
Yeah. And that's a great concept. Now, divorce is emotionally and energetically draining, as we know. Now, what practices do you recommend for people to protect their energy and heal
Mm.
during this transition?
Oh, I love that question. This is my love language, Ron. For sure, 100%. I always recommend going in nature. Nature, being outside, being, connecting to this beautiful Mother Gaia earth that we are so blessed to live upon,
Yeah.
just connecting with her and bringing a journal. When you're out in nature, I feel you're able to connect with the plants, and the plants in the totem are givers of energy. And if you ever hug trees, which I always recommend to my clients to do that. But when you hug a tree, you'll feel that loving energy because they're givers of energy. They give us food, they give us shelter, they give us this beautiful energy. And animals are receivers of energy. And then you have the rocks and minerals that hold and transform energy. So you have all of these natural happenings when you're in nature that are helping you heal just by being there. And then while you're there, and I always encourage my clients to do breath work, even something like 44 breaths or 20 breaths, they can even do like something really easy, but just to ground. And then when they're in that space, all the noise around them is quiet. So that's something that can definitely help you heal because during divorce, there's always going to be people talking in your ear. Oh, you should do this. My sister just got a divorce and this is what she got and you should do that too and blah, blah, blah. But every journey is different. So absolutely, go in nature. Exercise is something I strongly advocate for just because it makes you physically feel amazing, but it also is moving energy and we want to release the attachments to this marriage container. We want to release that. And in order to release it, we have to do a very high amount of self-care and self-love. So exercise, breath work, meditation, journaling, salt baths, sleeping, drinking a lot of water, being mindful of what you're
Right.
watching, being mindful of who you surround yourself with, recognizing that you become the 5 people you spend the most time with, and also be, starting to recognize how people make you feel, especially when you're going through a divorce. If you don't want to hang out with someone who's going to be bad mouthing your spouse or, talking negatively about
Negative.
anything,
Yeah.
especially,
Yeah.
yeah,
You want to
because it's
stay.
none of their business.
Right.
So yeah, I have a whole client handbook. I have 2 client handbooks. One is the legal handbook that talks about all the legal conversations we're going to be having. And then I have another handbook that is solely the emotional handbook, and it's solely dedicated to self-care and self-love and narratives you can have with your children and different things you can do to feel better.
Now, for our audience out there, you help people move from the darkness of divorce back into the light, as we well know. What are the first steps someone should take when they feel completely overwhelmed and lost? Because there's,
Let me take a very brief moment out to alert all our patients and caregivers out there that Rare Patient Voice, a supporter of the podcast, is paying for your input. Patients 16 years and older and caregivers, family, and friends of any disability, disorder, syndrome, illness, or condition have the opportunity to express their opinions through surveys and interviews to improve medical products and services. Who knows your journey better than you? Rare Patient Voice puts you in touch with researchers who are developing products and services that can help you and others with your condition. These researchers need input of patients to develop products and services that have significant impact on patients' lives. Over the past 9 years, Rare Patient Voice has paid patients over $10 million. When you join Rare Patient Voice, you may be invited to participate in interviews, surveys, or online communities where you will share your insights. Rare Patient Voice usually has hundreds of studies running at any time, so there are many opportunities to participate. You will earn $120 per hour for participating in these studies. By making your voice heard, you are a catalyst for change. Rest assured your input will be used to help other patients like you. There is no cost at all to you, the participant. You can get more information and sign up by clicking the link in the sponsor's notes.
Their
people out there
marriage?
listening to this that are probably
Mhm.
at that stage.
Are you asking when they're going through a divorce, or are they overwhelmed in their marriage? Like
Overwhelmed
overwhelmed
and
with the
lost
divorce
going
process?
going through the divorce process. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyone listening who's going through a divorce in the family law court litigation setting, you don't need to be there anymore. You can always ask your judge for a period of time and say, we want to utilize mediation. We want to
Okay.
try mediation to check this out, see if this is going to flow. And the judge 100% will grant that because, again, the judge is overwhelmed with
Yeah,
cases.
of course.
And so,
Less
yeah,
work
I
for
mean,
the
if
judge. Yeah.
exactly. So anyone who's feeling overwhelmed, I can understand. I can understand why. And I feel it's because they don't know. They don't even know what they don't know. The legal, like I was talking about with the contract, the legal stuff is so easy. It's so easy because for the children, it's best interest of children. What's in the best interest of your kids? And the majority of states are fair and equitable for the financial stuff. And the states that are 50-50, I think there's 9 still, but the states that are 50-50, even if you come up with an agreement that you feel is fair and equitable, that's beautiful. The judge will sign off on it. As long as you can testify that you know what the law says, that you believe that your agreement is fair and equitable, and that you signed off on it freely and voluntarily, the judge will sign it. So anyone who's feeling overwhelmed, I would encourage them to step into their power, step
Yeah.
out of those cages of the programs and telling you what you should be doing or what's the right way to do it. There is no right, wrong, good, or bad. Everyone is on their own life journey and path, and you are in control of it. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling frustrated, then absolutely seek guidance. I'm happy to talk with anyone. And I have
Right.
my new book that would help too.
Yeah, we're
It's
going to get
30
into
days.
that. We're going to get into that. Now, if you decide you wanted to go the mediation route, who becomes the mediator?
So the parties choose. And that's the thing. That's what I love about choosing the mediator. You can talk to as many mediators as you want, and then both parties agree upon one.
So you
And then
don't use so the two attorneys, if you had two attorneys starting the process, they're out of the picture then, right?
yeah, well, some mediators allow attorneys to appear,
Okay.
for the mediation. I
Yeah.
do not. I am an attorney. I've been an attorney for 19 years. I know attorneys have a very different, they just have a
Concept.
very different focus, yeah, than I
Yeah.
do. And I also I'm an energy worker, so I know when the
Yeah.
attorneys are present, the energy is just totally messed up because
So
again, I think
they
it's the
suck it out of
programs.
the room, in other
I
words.
think they just dominate it. I think they dominate, and then they make the parties question themselves because they're like, wait a minute, this is the attorney and
Yeah.
he's saying this, but I
Yeah.
think this, but I
Yeah.
couldn't possibly know because I'm not an attorney, is
Right.
what
Right.
I feel happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I love about it. I just love empowering people. I love
Yeah.
teaching people. You can do this, and then my hope is always when other difficult things happen down the road, which they're going to, because that's life, that they're going to have that same approach. They're going to be like, okay, wait a minute. Remember when I went through a divorce? I did that. I looked
Right.
at it. I learned it. I did what I needed to do. I spoke my truth, and we got through that together and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm in this space. I'm going to empower myself to do something as
So
opposed to being like a floating leaf that
you're
just
opening
goes
up,
where
you're opening
everyone
up new
says.
doors of opportunity.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely hoping so.
Okay. Now you wrote the book titled Shine, Soul, Shine. Tell us a little bit about it and what prompted you to write it and what do you hope the reader gets out of it?
So it's 30 days of self-discovery and healing through divorce is what is the reason for the book. So that is, or the intention for the book. It came to me very strongly that the book was to be written as if a goddess, feminine energy goddess was speaking, the words to the person.
Mhm.
And it really is for the person going through a divorce who's really in a dark space and they're not able to talk to people about it and they're feeling miserable, and they just don't know what to do. This is a really easy 30 days of self-discovery and healing that you can do. So and even in the beginning of the book, there's 3 intentions for the book. And in the intentions, it states, the hope is that people will start tuning into their inner guidance and start trusting themselves and use the book not so much as like I'm going to read it and again, right, this is like a program. I'm going to read the book from front to or from start to finish. It's I don't want it to be, I want people to just follow their intuition and to open themselves up to magic. And I want them to flip through and just stop when they feel like stopping and open the page. And whatever the guidance is for that day, that is what they're going to focus energies on that day. And of course, there's one about nature. There's one about having a dance party by yourself. There's one about crying all day, staying in bed and crying all day. So there's all different things that people can do for 30 days. And my intention for it is truly to help people emerge from that darkness and recognize, again, the only way out is through, but the only way, going through is the individual and giving that person the authenticity and feeling of being a sovereign being and being in control of how they feel and recognizing that they're in control of every single moment, and every moment is beautiful and amazing and there's so much to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that it helps a lot of people.
Did the book just come out?
It did.
Okay. So it did. Okay. Now
Hmm.
you help individuals achieve balance in their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual selves, and you assist people into tuning into their inner guidance and truth, navigating life
Hmm.
transitions and transcending limiting beliefs through your coaching, workshops, and retreats and divorce with love master classes. So
Hmm.
how can people contact you to take advantage of all this?
So everything is on the Solace website. So it's solacedivorce.com. And the masterclass is 3 hours and 39 minutes of me sharing. There's 10 modules and 36 sections. And so you can go through it, as quickly or as slowly as you choose. But it provides a full explanation of the legal process of divorce. So it's removing all the smoke and mirrors, and all of the misperceptions that typically, are in that space. And then it also focuses on the emotional process and journey and different, I go through a guided meditation in the master class. And I think really for anyone who is thinking about a divorce and is feeling overwhelmed, or even anyone in the courtroom who has no idea what they're doing there because I mean, I guess I could just share right now what they're doing there. Everyone who is in court, the foundational documents that need to be drafted are the judgment for dissolution of marriage, which literally will take 5 minutes, full names, background, where you work, how much you earn, that kind of stuff. Then if you have minor children, your parenting agreement and your marital settlement agreement for the financial stuff. And that is what every divorce needs if there's minor children. And most people in court have no idea. They have no idea what they're doing there. Why are these motions being filed? Why do we keep coming to court? And the answer is you're creating those 3 documents, but you're not creating them. The judge is creating the
Right.
terms within them. And it's the same documents outside. So the master class is really, it's kind of a deep dive into all the legal stuff and all
Yeah.
the emotional stuff. And yeah, I'm excited about that too. There's so many things happening right now.
Is the master class that's been in operation?
The masterclass has been live for the past year.
Okay.
We
Okay.
released it last February.
All right.
And so yeah, and that's something, they sign up for it and then they have access to it. They
Okay.
come and go. And then there's a 76-page workbook that accompanies it too. So if they like to journal or if they want to capture as they go, then that's a nice way to keep everything really clean and, make sure that everything has been thought about.
Right. Now we're going to put that information about the website in the podcast notes. So
Thank you.
we'll have that in there. Now, in closing, for those out there going through a divorce or a family member or close friends of those going through a divorce, what words of advice or encouragement can you give them?
I would share with them to breathe and to know that everything is okay, that it's all happening for you. And I would encourage them to take really, really good care of themselves and start to listen to, again, their inner guidance. Start to listen to what they need and to give themselves what they need. So if they're feeling like they want to stay in bed all day and just cry, then do that. And don't feel bad about it. Don't think while you're in bed crying, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Oh my gosh, I'm such a loser. It's like, no, you are going through one of the most emotionally difficult experiences of your lifetime. Every therapist everywhere will say that. It is one of the most difficult experiences that you will go through. And so definitely taking care of yourself. And again, going in nature, just fall in love with yourself, because that is the byproduct of divorce, because it is so dark and it's so difficult for anyone going through it. When you're in that space, it's so dark, but it will pass. You will get back into the light. You will feel better. And if it's done mindfully and with intention, and where you are in the driver's seat of speaking your truth and really focusing on your children, focusing, on the fact that you are going to be in a relationship with your co-parent for the rest of your life. And what do you want that to look like? And what do you want that to feel like? And how do you want that to feel for your kids? And really stepping into that space of empowerment, you will emerge from this time stronger, and you will know yourself in a very different way. You will forever have different boundaries set in place, and you will love yourself. I think that's the biggest byproduct of divorce, is self-love, because when you're in this difficult space, you can talk till you're blue in the face with everybody about what's going on, and no one is going to understand it, because it's not anyone else's journey but your own. And so that would be my final share with anyone going through divorce, is this really is all happening for you. And you are meant to learn things from your spouse. So I encourage you to really process and think about the reflections that are being shown, and figure out, what are you meant to be healing and releasing, because life is joyful. And you will see the light again, and you will enjoy this life, because that is what we're here to do. We're here to live a joyful life surrounded by love. And that's where you're at. You're just in a really hard space of your journey, but you'll learn from this and grow from this. And it's all going to be all right. That's what I tell my clients. It's all going to be all right. I promise you, it's all going to be all right. It's just, it's hard, and give yourself grace and give your partner grace and just recognize everyone's doing the best they can.
Excellent advice and positive advice, I might add. I want to thank you, Jen, for being on the podcast. I wish you the best going forward with your work. It was a delight to have you on. And I know you've given people listening or viewing this a lot of positive information and hope on this subject. And I know you got a
Oh.
lot of stuff going on in the future, and perhaps we'll have you back.
Oh, Ron, I love you. It's been such a gift to be here with you. Thank you
It,
so much.
well,
And thank
you,
you for everything you do in this world. And you're such a warrior and you're so inspiring and
well,
you have a beautiful energy.
well,
And I'm
thank
so
you.
grateful for the opportunity to share this with your listeners. So
Yes,
thank you
please do.
for holding this space
And
so
it's like I
beautifully.
say, I don't know who's listening to it, but hopefully, if we can help one person, I'm a
Exactly.
happy camper.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think we will. I think we
Oh,
will.
yeah.
There's a lot of changes that are happening.
We will. Yeah,
So, yeah,
for
I think
sure.
people will resonate for sure.
Okay. Well, God bless you. Comments and suggestions for the podcast, you can email me at it's a wrap with rap at gmail.com. Facebook, it's a wrap with rap. We have about 2,000 members. It is a private group. So if you want to join, and we're getting new members all the time, just email me. Instagram, it's a wrap with rap podcast. We're on Twitter, or X as it's known, at rapper, WRAPPER 130. We're on YouTube, it's a wrap with rap, the podcast uncut. I want to thank everyone for listening or viewing. And I want everybody to please stay safe. And for now, it's a wrap. This podcast is being brought to you in part by the veteran-founded Hero Soap Company located in Phoenix, Arizona. In today's environment, we must be aware of the products we apply to our skin. As a two-time cancer survivor, I cannot afford to take chances, and I use these products myself. The soaps will leave you feeling clean and refreshed. All the products made by the Hero Soap Company are made in the United States with the highest quality ingredients sourced from companies in the United States whenever possible. The products are made in small batches to ensure high quality and contain premium essential oils and fragrance. All Hero soaps are created without synthetic colorants, parabens, and sulfates that are irritating to the eyes, skin, mouth, and lungs, and are cruelty-free, meaning these products are not tested on animals. Each 5-ounce bar of soap is handmade in Phoenix, Arizona, and the body wash is available in 8 ounces with such refreshing scents as lime, bourbon, and frost. You will absolutely love this soap. Please also check out their gear for sale. All the products are reasonably priced. Being veteran founded, the company understands the dedication and sacrifice that each family makes to serve their country. A portion of sales is donated back to charities such as Operation Finally Home, Operation Interdependence, and the Gary Sinise Foundation that are focused on helping veterans and our first responders. Over 1,000 bars have been sent to our deployed troops. Please check out their website, herosoapcompany.com, for pricing and a detailed description of all the products. Now, when ordering, please use the code RAP for a 10% discount. The company information will be listed in the podcast notes.